Welcome to the Black on the Block podcast, where we're all about preserving the black family. Everything is pro-black, but don't get it twisted. We respect everyone, but we love our people first.
What up, y'all? This is your soul sister, K. Marie, and we are Black on the Block.
This your favorite guy, Coach Scrap, and you listen to Black on the Block podcast.
This is your humble servant, Pops, and you are listening to Black on the Block.
Hey, y'all. This your girl, Nika B. Welcome to Black on the Block.
Say, open the door, let me in. Teach your song, preach your sins. Turn the cheek, let it slide. Give 5 on the black hand side.
Why is it that oftentimes in the Black community, we gravitate toward or romanticize toxic relationships?
All right, as far as why our folks seem to be sticking in toxic relationships, I think it's multiple reasons. Sometimes I think it's what we keep ourselves around, what we look at, what we listen to. That's one side of it, because life starts to imitate art. And also some of it is that, and I hate to say it like this, but sometimes it is what it is, and some folks think that they cannot do better. Some folks have pattern behavior, or you get with what you're comfortable with. Because often I'll see someone say they want this type of person, but it seems like throughout their history, they normally get with another type of person, and it's a pattern. And sometimes I don't know if a person knows how to get themselves out of the pattern, and depending how an outside person approaches the person that's in it, they might get defensive and stick to that toxic person even more, because that's one of the worst things you can do is beat up on a person or say that that person is not good for you, because the person that's with them might protect that person and try to defend their relationship. So it might make it last even longer. What do y'all think?
I agree with you there. A lot of times people think they cannot do better. I always say our relationships are a reflection of our self-esteem or our confidence. So a lot of people think they can't do better. So self-esteem, also maybe upbringing. Toxic relationships or unhealthy relationships are often normal to us. That's what we saw growing up. We didn't see healthy relationships growing up. So we think it's normal to yell, name call, throw things, leave the house, move out for a couple of days, and then come back. So it's just normal to us.
Right. I was going to add, definitely what K. Marie said. I think some of that starts at home with the upbringing, for sure. What you see and what you duplicate or replicate as you grow up. Not all the time, but definitely oftentimes. So it's not just about the romantic relationships. It's also about the relationships within your immediate family growing up and what you see in the household. I also think we've gotten in the habit of being entertained by toxic relationships, and that's what's projected on social media, on reality TV shows, and so we find it entertaining. And so to me, that's more troublesome than anything.
Oftentimes, when people are in those type of situations or relationships, I don't think it's always this glorified, or I don't think that is that they gravitate towards it. They end up in that situation, and that's the safest place for them to be
at. The safest place? That's interesting.
Yeah, that is. Can you elaborate?
Yeah.
So, and I have to take it in totality of what I've seen. When you have kids involved, when you have different things that's been allowed to you for state help and things of that nature, it's unsafe to go do anything else. And you don't know that anybody else will want you. You don't know if anybody else, especially from a woman's standpoint. I'm not speaking for any woman on here or nobody in general. This is just what I've seen. Right. Some women may feel like, hey, is such and such going to accept me with these 4 kids? I know he will. Whether we're fighting every day, whether we're not taking the strides towards perfection or doing the things that's great, I know he's going to accept me though. I know he's going to be here. Whether that looks bad or not, he's going to be here.
Right.
From a man's perspective, hey, I can be here, and I know I don't have to work that much because we got Section 8, we got this, we got food stamps coming in, we got that, then the third. So I don't have to make the strides as a man to be the best I can be because I know what's gonna go on with this situation. And it comes to a point where it's normalized from a standpoint of I'm just used to this.
I'm comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
And being safe and comfortable runs hand in hand.
Yeah. Or would it be safety or out of fear and insecurities that we stay in these relationships? We're afraid to leave these relationships because we're unsure if someone else will accept us.
Right. It's both. We're unsure, but because I'm unsure, I feel safe here.
And as human beings in general, there's always a fear of the unknown in every situation that we're in, whether it's a toxic relationship, leaving a job, whatever, moving out of state, like there's always fear in the unknown. So even though it's bad over here, I don't know what awaits for me on the other side. So at least even with all this bad qualities and, chaos throughout the day, I know what to expect here. I don't know what to expect when I cross that line.
Yeah.
And
so
you know what you might be fearing let me sneak in here on this real quick, because you said as a human reaction we fear the unknown, and I thought about something, especially when Scrap was speaking. Sometimes folks fear the known. If you are a person and you've tried dating and you're not having any luck with the people that you like, and you can't get them, you can't keep them, and it's not the unknown, it's the known. It's a fact that you hadn't been successful, but the one that you can get, he might be a little toxic. He might not be able to keep a job, but he'll stick with you. He might talk crazy to you, but he'll stick with you. You know what I mean? He will accept your kids. So you've been out there and you've tried it, and it wasn't working with these other folks, so you just couldn't keep it going, and now you get comfortable. You do have a particular safety because at least this dude will stick with you through whatever. So yeah.
May take you through whatever, but
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, Marie, I'm sorry I cut in on you.
I just wanted to ask the question. Has anyone on here, and you can share or not share, found themselves in an unhealthy or toxic relationship?
Yes. Several times.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So anyone want to speak to that as to why you remained in the relationship for so long, or what made you decide to finally leave?
I wouldn't call them relationships per se either. Just different stuff I was doing.
So situationships?
Yeah. And I had several of them at the same time.
Okay.
And it was very toxic.
Absolutely.
But I mean, you come flat my tire, I'm not leaving. It's because
say that again.
The flat tire was my fault. And I just couldn't leave well enough alone. I had to bother people. And I had no business bothering some people. But it was I don't know if it was an adrenaline rush. I don't know if it was the simple fact that I could just do it. I don't know what it was. I liked those situations. I knew all hell was gonna break loose on the weekend. Come Friday, somebody go. I knew somebody go down. It's about to go down, and because I've been doing too much all week, so I know come the weekend something about to happen, and I just couldn't stop. And I may have been the toxic one, probably because when somebody let me go, here I go a month later. Hey, how you doing, beautiful? What's going on with you, baby? And then we back in the same cycle.
Right, knowing what that's gonna cause. Yeah.
Yeah, we in the same cycle again.
Yeah. A cycle.
Right. And so I didn't look at it and understand it. I'm speaking from a 20-year-old Scrap, a 21-year-old scrap or 22. I didn't care about the consequences. I didn't care about
Mm-hmm.
who was hurt in the process. I didn't care about none of that. So I mean, I can't tell you why I kept and like I said, and I don't know what. Well, I do know why they kept dealing with it. I know why they kept dealing with it because I was smooth it over with words. I was smooth it over thinking that I can just come over there and have a night of passion with you and straighten everything out. I can come over there and just say what I need to say to straighten everything out. And I know how to talk. So that thing smooth you over.
Hold on, Scrap. I caught what you said. You come over and have a night of passion.
Night of passion, bro.
Yeah. So that honeymoon phase. That honeymoon.
I want no honey. No.
I want the honeymoon phase. So that adrenaline rush.
It was some adrenaline getting rushed. Pops know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, when he said he had that
night
of passion, it'll make it all better.
Yeah,
passion.
It
can
make it break you.
It can overcome some things.
And me knowing at a young age that women, worked out of emotion, I played on it. And so I can admit in that alone, I was a toxic man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I wish I could see the old me now. I whoop his ass.
Maybe write a letter to your former self, to your younger self.
Now he need an ass whoop. He need his ass beat.
K. Marie, stop trying to go therapeutic. Scrap
right.
Away.
He need his ass kicked. I ain't lying to you.
Well, one thing I will definitely commend Coach Scrap is that you taking accountability for that. Being able to, they say hindsight is 20/20 though, but being able to look back and say how you contributed to that, right? Yeah. It wasn't just I'm the victim mode.
Nah, hell no.
Right.
Definitely want the victim.
Are they toxic as well for remaining in those relationships?
So I'm not gonna, in my opinion, only speaking for me, I don't think that you're necessarily just toxic for remaining in them. That to me does not define being toxic. But even look back at my own situation, like Coach said, like I was 18, 19, 20 years old. I mean, it followed me well longer than what it should have, right? So just being in that toxic relationship alone, no, I don't think that makes me toxic. However, when y'all talked about cycles, right? When somebody does something to you, you want to do something back. And so then that leads to being toxic, whether it's cutting somebody's tires or bleaching some clothes or, not that I've ever participated in any of that, but, you get into those things. Yeah,
you do.
Yeah. It doesn't, and again, you talk about personalities and stuff. I was never the type of person to cower down. And so I'm gonna meet you where we meeting at, what we doing. And so that is toxic and within itself. And then it just continues and continues and continues. And even speaking to what Coach said about, okay, so we done. And maybe a month later, a couple of weeks later, hey babe, how you doing? What's up with you?
Yeah.
That's how I take. Then and then we right back in the cycle again. So it's not just staying, but it's definitely participating in your own way. Even if it's not physical, we know how to push buttons and we do it. And so,
Is there a difference between toxic relationships and unhealthy relationships?
I think they run hand in hand.
Yeah. They run hand in hand.
I think there are levels to it. Every relationship has their stuff. No relationship is perfect. And some of those relationships are healthy, but you're going to work through your stuff. Some are unhealthy, but I think once we go higher up in that level of intensity, then we get to toxic. And I think we need to recognize the difference between the two. I really feel like toxic is thrown around. That term is used too loosely in our conversations. What do you all think?
I was just about to say, I'm sorry. I was going to say, I wonder who decides. I don't, because like you said, it's toxic, it's all relative.
Let me ask you, Coach Scrap, How are we doing the day after the Chris Brown concert?
We're doing well. We're doing
Okay.
well.
Well and very well.
We're doing well. Everybody came in and sit down somewhere.
Okay. All right. Good.
You know,
Okay, but did you
went
check
there-
the account on the VIP? Were you sure there was no VIP going on?
You know, I need to get to that. You better write on that. That was my daughter's first concert. She had a great time.
Okay, good.
That's cool.
And so it was a little mama daughter thing. They did the thing.
Nice.
So
Nice.
came on in and sat down somewhere.
Is it time to, for the lack of a better word, forgive him for the Rihanna situation?
It's past time.
It's past time.
I'm so
I
sick
agree.
of it. I'm so sick
I
of it.
agree.
I ain't know. I ain't know they was still mad. I ain't know people still mad at him.
They shade him on everything. They don't get I feel like they're just trying to forever keep his flowers. Like he didn't contribute at all. So it's beyond.
Yes. And so and I think honestly that might be a reason he does the photo shoots to compensate the income that he's lost because of the way this continues to affect his career. I mean, he continues to put out good music, but again,
I don't think he's lost nothing.
You don't think he's lost any?
Nah.
I mean, I'm talking about
I think it's taking a toll. I think it's taking a toll.
Definitely. It has taken a toll on his career.
At the time, probably you got to understand that dude in his 30s now, right?
Yeah. What does that mean?
He was what, 17?
But he's still talented. I mean, he can still sing, he can still dance, still has a large, still has a fan base. Yeah.
For sure.
Was he that young when it happened? Was it that young?
I think,
that's
ridiculous. Somewhere around there.
That's ridiculous.
It is.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So why is it that Black men don't get the forgiveness that men of other races get, or the grace that is given to men from other races? Mike Vick, Bobby Brown, Mike Tyson.
I think it all a lot of it has to do with where the power is and who does not have power. If you have power, you can keep things out of the limelight. If you don't have power, you don't have any control over what gets, put on the media. But there are some folks with so much power, what they do does not get discussed. And I think that our group, Black folks in particular, we don't have power. There are other groups that wield a certain amount of power. So when they do things, it's not grace because, the Most High God actually gives the grace, but they get their things hidden by this man, in this society, because this person, there's a group that can control things. Whoever has the power of the media. I mean, you think about what happened with Michael Jackson, the biggest pop star ever, but now his name is synonymous with negativity and court cases and allegations. So they can tarnish a very powerful, the greatest pop star, with documentaries, with media, with interviews, even after the great man is dead and gone.
Right.
So I think it comes down to having power or the lack thereof.
Yeah. Well, then why don't, and I agree with you, Pops, 100%. We don't have power as a community, as a people, but then we tear our own down. And then we're more hard on ourselves than the outside, I feel like, could ever be. We drag forever.
You know why I think that is? I've thought about that, Nika B. And I think what it is, our group, again, in particular, there are powerful people that study. They study trends, they study patterns, they study peoples. And there are certain folks that have certain characteristics. And you heard that concept, certain folks are sheeple, where certain groups can be led easily. So smart people can put something into a group, that group will take it from there. They don't have to do anything else. They just send it out, and that group we'll take it from there. There are certain groups that will reject anything. There are certain groups of folks that when their people do something, it's kept in house and the outside can't touch it. Our group, anything can be said about one of us. And like you said, Nika B, we will start to tear ourselves down. We take over. And it seems to be a characteristic, unfortunately, because people will say, well, that's not the case. Well, look at the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the track record. Like you said, that was a young man. And K-Marie, when you asked have people, or is it time to forgive them? I actually thought about it in a more nuanced way, even while it was happening. I didn't think about it the way the media told me to think about it. I don't borrow their thoughts and their narrative. I said, I wonder what happened.
Right.
I wonder what happened. Because one thing that was an indicator that it didn't happen the way people said it happened, and it's not funny, but he bit her at one point. At the very least, it was mutual combat. So I'm not saying
just going
that
back to what Coach just said about, and I think I spoke on it too. Just when you're in a toxic relationship and having those cycles, there's multiple contributors most of the time. So yeah, I might get the short end of the stick in a physical altercation sometimes. And again, it's not victim blaming. I've been in the domestic violence relationship where I was physically and emotionally abused, right? I've had a close relative be killed through a domestic violence. So it's not me victim shaming at all, because I know people will say that after this, but we have to realize and understand that most of the time it takes two, and it didn't start that day in that car, or however the altercation started. So I think we have to look at it like that.
Let me also throw this in there too, because I thought about that. And I don't know if I've heard him say anything, but how many of you have heard, okay, if it's a mom raising her son, if somebody hit you, you hit them back. I don't care who it is. If she put her hands on you, you hit her back. I've heard women tell their sons.
I've heard that.
They don't know at the time that their son gonna end up 6'3", 280.
That is not healthy. That's not good. That's not good teaching for your son.
If that young person has been hearing this, if you're a 17-year-old, your frontal lobes are not developed enough for you to think everything through. Somebody hit you in your mouth, you return fire, but it's not going to be equitable, because that slap, it may have even split his lip. But if that big guy hits that woman, he might break something. He might close her eye up. He might swell her face up. And what he's going to tell folks was, she hit me first. But I'm telling you, society will not care that she hit him first.
No.
But that young man has been taught, if anybody put their hands on you, you hit them back.
Right. And he said, he actually explained in the interview not long ago. He did an interview about it, talking about it. And the reason why he said that he ended up biting her was because she had grabbed his nuts and was squeezing and twisting and turning, and that's the only way I could get her up off me.
Okay, so we didn't hear a lot about that. This is the first time I've heard that.
But he just did the interview.
But we don't have to hear it. I think some of it is just like, to me, honestly, when even before common sense things, it takes two always. Like, and that's why I said we crucified him to this day, and to me, it's just utterly ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous.
And he's 35 now. That happened when he was 17.
Yeah.
So
now,
you talking about two kids sitting in the car arguing.
Yeah, I will say, he can make it hard because he's had a few missteps since then. A couple of years ago, he and Usher had a physical altercation at a party Usher had for him because he was becoming aggressive with Tiana Taylor. Again, we don't know what the precipitating event was. Yeah.
Thank you, Nika B.
Right. Because we don't know. We wasn't there. And so I'll just again play devil's advocate. K. Marie spoke about missteps. Well, God forbid somebody was behind me counting mine. Spotlight wasn't on me. You understand what I'm saying? Like y'all may think I'm a horrible person if somebody was behind me counting every misstep that I took from 17 on. So again, I'm not gonna count his missteps. I'm not gonna. To me, he has not been given a fair chance to showcase his talent, and even with Coach magnifying or shedding the light for me on his age, I didn't realize he wasn't even grown yet. 17 years old, like he says, 2 kids in the car. And if I had 10 missteps, I might have 20 more before I die. Like, does that make me not a good person? Have my contributions to the world not been, important because of that? So I don't know.
Right, because he's based on the list right now, and the way people look at him in the music world is like he's the second coming to Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that's what people said before the Rihanna incident.
I ain't gonna lie, they still saying that. I be checking them out.
Yeah.
They still, like the people that know music, the people that's in their industry, like even comparing him to an Usher situation. Like I said, we weren't there. Usher could have been hating. Because what they say is when they're on the stage together, he disappears. Usher is disappeared. When Chris Brown walks on that stage, nobody cares about what Usher just did.
Allegedly.
Definitely alleged.
I don't know.
It would be the opposite for me. So yeah.
No, I'm talking about the people in the music industry.
If that were truly the case, his career would continue to flourish, and it has not.
Yeah.
Going back to what Pop said about
gatekeepers.
Authority, right. Authority.
Right. See, there are some gatekeepers objectively who can argue his talent. If you're being objective, he is one of the most talented folks we've seen. So there are folks, sometimes it's like a hidden hand. And you might be wondering, I wonder why this doesn't happen. Well, it shouldn't take long to figure it out. But that's one of the most difficult parts about this is that it's not clear who's controlling what, because the most powerful people are unseen. But their evidence is certainly present.
And
we can tell something's stopping him.
As of 2024, they say he's approximately worth $50 million, which places him among the richest pop music icons.
Okay, Mr. Brown. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's taking too much of a hit.
Yeah.
But you know what? I tell you what you do, Scrap. Type in how much Rihanna is worth.
Yeah. Well, and she does have other businesses. And while he's looking that up, I do want to comment on what you just said, Coach Scrap. He's not taking too much of a hit. He's not taking too much of a hit financially. But what is this doing to his mental health?
It pisses him off. Like I said, I'm gonna have to send y'all the I will have to send y'all the interview he just did. Like he talked about a lot of this stuff. He talked about a lot of it. He talked about Go ahead.
Even at 50 million, I mean, yeah, that's a lot of money for us. I'll take it. But I'm saying, like, still, you cannot, even for a millisecond, believe that hasn't stifled his income to a certain degree.
No, exactly.
Yeah, what about the big endorsements, the corporate? Right. See, there would be
none of those. Yeah.
Right. He might, he could be on commercials. There are so many things that cut him out of.
Right. But again, just going back to a black man, at that time, he was not a black man when that transgression occurred, right? So to crucify him like that, and I just and for us to join in on it, like, okay, if they're gonna do it, let them do it. But then at some point, we have to celebrate and uplift.
Y'all want to know Rihanna's net worth?
Yes, sir.
Oh Lord. Yeah, he probably have to I bet he's somewhere self-medicating. 1.4 billion.
So clearly his financials have been stifled. Yeah.
I was about to say something, but for the love of people, I'm not gonna say it.
Please say it. This has happened to black men time and time again. Mike Vick, Bobby Brown, Michael Jackson. So black men are just not given the forgiveness or the empathy that other groups are given.
Like Nika B said, though, I think those gentlemen are slightly different, and their situations are slightly different because they were grown men, and so the world looks at it totally different. They was able to catch Chris Brown at a young age and start with him there. It's easy to crucify a grown as black man when you got nobody else is behind you. The people in your races going against you, your women going against you, everybody going against you. That's easy. I don't think media had to do a whole lot to really bring them down. We gonna do it ourselves.
Well,
So
how do you all
I'll say
think that
this.
should be handled?
Let me say this real quick. Speak to that. Like, the world starts looking at our black boys as threats well before 17, 18, you know what I'm saying? So honestly, the transition is around 8 or 9. And you can see it. You can visibly see it. So I was sitting at a park one day, baseball park at a game in our hometown, and there was a little boy, and he used to be so cute, growing. I mean, he was little brown everybody, and it didn't matter, black, white, green, orange, everything in between. And I came back to the town. He was 8, 9, maybe 10. 10 is and you could tell there was a difference in how other groups then treated him. Before, he was all sitting under them and doing all this. Well, now, because they look at him differently. So the world views our young men, especially, as a threat very, very early on. So I don't know if it would have made a difference if Mike Vick was, not a grown man. I'm an avid supporter, because we care more about dogs than we do about people, right? So I don't know that I can agree with that, but I just wanted to point that out.
I definitely understand what you're saying, and just to shed light on it. To be honest with you, it wasn't about the dogs at all. Michael Vick was about to sign he was about to sign the most lucrative contract that a player in the NFL had ever signed. He was about to be the highest paid player in the NFL and the most paid ever. And I think 2 weeks after that, they locked his ass up. You had teams advocating for them, basically saying, "Hey, we ain't buying no more tickets. Like, once he got out of jail, you sign him, we ain't buying no more tickets." Right. It was a black coach that stood beside him named Tony Dungy. He stood beside him. Actually, the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs now, Andy Reid, took a chance on him. And he went on. He went on to have a pretty decent career. He left there. He went to Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin, and he had a pretty decent career. Now he's commentating. He's on. I want to say he got a deal with CBS or ESPN or something like that. Him. And he back doing well. So, but he had to go through some stuff for that. Right. Now, K. Marie, you mentioned Bobby Brown. He just started messing up about 2 months ago. Then
no, I'm not. Well, I don't recall hearing anything about Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown,
about his residency, Mr. Brown is getting healthier and doing better.
Scrap said, "Let's not get carried away."
Right.
Don't put that.
Come on now. Some of it was self-inflicted.
Well, self-inflicted. What? Okay, so help me to understand that. How some of his stuff was self-inflicted, but we didn't
Google
say
Bobby Brown.
Chris Brown. Okay, but do we know his history? Bobby Brown has a history of trauma since childhood. 5 years old. Unaddressed trauma. And people respond to their traumas differently. Bobby Brown was married to the pop princess. They didn't want her with this bad boy.
I wouldn't want my daughter with a bad boy.
Right.
However, she was a bad girl as well. But that's not what was put out there to the media. Now, her own brothers, they've admitted to introducing her to drugs. But people still judge Bobby Brown and accuse Bobby Brown for Whitney Houston's demise.
Whitney was definitely a contributor. I mean, I think it's an easy scapegoat. You're right. They do accuse her of that. But I mean, again, just like we said before, it takes two. So she definitely contributed to her own. I see Bobby Brown a little bit differently. First of all, I don't care too much about him. But like, as far as
facts.
But as far as like, at what stage and age, we talked about that, right? Chris Brown was 17. At what stage and age do we then take accountability of past traumas or not and say, I'm responsible for healing myself and living a better life? And I think, at some point, I mean, how old is Bobby? He's definitely older than me.
He's in his 50s, and from what I don't know Mr. Brown, haven't met him, but I am a New Edition fan, so I do follow.
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown, he's been doing his work. He's been, in rehabs. He goes back if he needs to, based on what I've seen or read, following him.
Right.
So the man has been trying.
Right.
From what I hear, what I hear Nika B and Scrap saying, and you all correct me if I'm wrong, is the concept of accountability. Because I think that, of course, we all can go through things and we can have addressed or unaddressed things, but we still have to function in society. And so we have to be careful not to make excuses, because then we're excusing them from being accountable. And some would argue that with our community in particular, that's why things happen the way they do, because we won't even hold certain family members accountable. Because we won't say you're wrong. If you're out there doing this and that, why? Because you can't talk to some folks about accountability. And I just want to be careful not to make a blanket, like that's what Scrap said now. Wait a minute now. The other ones, I was on board, but wait a minute now. Bobby B.
I still don't understand that. The wait a minute.
Well, I'm gonna say
we're not everyone should be held accountable, but I don't understand how Bobby's journey or the criticism from the media is Bobby Brown is different from any other Black man in the media or in the entertainment industry.
Because you can't
or public figures. Well, no, you can't. I hadn't heard about Bobby fucking up in a while.
You mad about old Bobby, ain't you?
I'm just trying to understand.
I think we have a tendency, just as a group of people, just as human beings, Black, white, green, orange. I think that we make excuses, or more likely to make excuses for people who we hold dear or who we like. Just what Pop said about even accountability to our family members and stuff. Like I've seen parents, I've heard them say it, seen it posted on social media. No matter what my kids do, No, it's not. No matter what my kids do.
No, that's enabling.
Right. And I think we can do that from afar, whether and just based on people that we like, not holding them accountable or making excuses for them. For me, the stark difference between Bobby and Chris is, number one, the age. And that's why I said some age. I don't want to have one foot in the grave before I decide to get my life right. Everybody's journey is different. You're 100% right. But I just think, again, the accountability has to come sooner.
All right. So do y'all think I'm making excuses for Bobby Brown? Is that what we're saying here?
I didn't say that. I'm making a general comment, K. Marie. I think in general, we have a tendency to do that. And you have to take it for what it is.
Because like I said, I've not heard anything in years about this man fucking up. I mean, he's got his nonprofits. I've not heard anything about this man in several years. Right. So I do believe
probably about 10 years.
Okay, and so I do believe
he was 45
in his shit, and he has done his work.
So what I'm saying, in speaking from a Black man's shoes, at some point, and everybody's not the same, but as a Black male, as a Black man in America, at some point you have to, sooner than later, I ain't talking about when you're 70, you have to stand up and say, this shit my fault. You have to look in the mirror and say, if I don't want people, if this is not the narrative that I want on me, if this is not this, if this ain't what I want people to look at me as and say whatever, I got to straighten the fuck up.
Yeah, and that's not just Black men, all of us.
But hold on though, because we're talking about Black men though. I couldn't have, with what I went through growing up and getting locked up for selling drugs and doing all that in the third, people took away that I was playing ball, I was good at sports. That was the narrative. I could not have waited till I was 37 years old to change that and expect people to say, well, he's doing well. I would have to took the brunt of what's coming to me because I decided I wanted to wait till I'm 37, then 40 years old to change. You can't do that, especially when the spotlight's on you. So you talking about Chris Brown that made a mistake at 17 and still been talked about when he's 35. And honestly, we can probably like you said, he had a little situation with Usher. So we can talk about 2 moments. How many moments can you talk about with Bobby Brown?
It was a lot.
Come on now.
But I think part of it was that he stayed in that unhealthy, toxic relationship for so long, and they were enabling each other's bad behaviors. Yeah. Maybe if they had parted ways sooner, things would have turned out differently for both of them.
I agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. But one thing about we like Nika B, she hit it on the head. Pops hit it on the head. I think we hold people that's dear to us. We hold them to a certain level, and we don't want to shame them. We don't want to see things bad said about them. But the truth is the truth. And sometimes we might love somebody, and they could be a toxic motherfucker.
What do you all think about people continuing to support R. Kelly to the point where it might come across that they are dismissing the trauma of some of these women? And I have heard people in our community victim shame or blame some of these women for the traumas they experienced at the hands of R. Kelly.
Well, I'll say this. The whole thing was a lot more complex than I've heard some people make it. I'll start here. Why some of the people still supported him was because they were super fans. Mm-hmm. And it don't matter what he did. He could have slapped a baby, and some of them would have still supported him.
Well, we know where Coach stands.
Is it a matter of separating the artist from the person? Is it a matter of that?
But see, we have to look at depending this. It's relative. I've seen people who are what you can consider a super fan, and whatever the person does, they don't care. Now we're looking at this person like something is wrong, and it might be something wrong, but I saw folks stick with him. It didn't matter what he was going to do. And then some of us said, nah, there's something wrong. Some of us held the parents accountable. Because,
hold on. You don't think we shouldn't?
No, I'm saying some of us held the parents for, it's almost like, because some of these rumors were already floating, but in order for the sake of fame, hey, get in there. If you can get you that contract, hey,
they sold
Teresa.
They sold
it. They did. Right. Because everybody knew about the Aaliyah situation. I remember that in real time. I remember that.
Now this is where it gets more complex, K. Marie, because I think you can speak to this and being empathetic. Have you heard about his background and what he went through as a little boy?
A lot of unresolved trauma. Yes, a lot of unresolved trauma. But like one of you all said earlier, at some point, we have to decide that we're going to get into treatment. A lot of things have happened to many of us during our childhoods, during our lives that were out of our control. And that is so unfair. However, it is up to us to get in therapy, do what we need to do to get those issues resolved.
Now I think, K. Marie, you're where we were on other folks. You know what I mean? It's like, so
I'm just saying he did that. Yeah, right. Bobby has been in treatment. I've not ever heard R. Kelly speak about getting in any treatment, and maybe he did, and we just don't know.
And maybe he did not have the opportunity. Like I said, we from the outside. First of all, we don't even have all the information
at all.
So we're we can kind of wax poetic about this or that, but most of it we don't know. But I just want to make it clear that sometimes it's dangerous for us not to hold folks accountable, and and we can't do it to entertainers, but we can do it to folks in our immediate environment.
Yes,
that's where we need to start.
Yeah. So how do we do that?
Easy. Well, tell them they wrong when they wrong.
Yeah.
And just because somebody reports something, they don't make it racist. Like some people will say, well, why are they talking about all this crime in the Black community? Hell, there's a lot of damn crime in the Black community.
It's a lot of let me say this: it's a lot of reported crime in the Black community because I've been in situations. Hold on, I've been in situations where, especially small town, all that, whatever, where there's crime, but because it's not in our neighborhood, it doesn't necessarily get reported. There's not necessarily a record of it. There's not necessarily an arrest. So we gotta also look at, you said it before, Pops, who's giving us the information. Is it skewed to some degree? Not discounting our people, and not saying we have to do better as a people. So people, absolutely, but the numbers are skewed a lot. A lot.
That's why I think we have to do both. And I think us intellects, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Because I'm gonna do this. I live in a community, and I don't care what nobody say. I know who I'm worried about, and the numbers are skewed because it's reported too low. There are a lot of people that get shot and it's never reported. There are a lot of people that get shot at and no one was hit, but those bullets still go through houses. There are a lot of people with bullets in their home. They find them later on behind couches. And a lot of people live in fear. Why? Because people don't hold folks accountable. When you know Maine and Nuck them shooting, they didn't get Miss Johnson scared to come out of a house. Well, you might, even if you don't go report it to the law, somebody need to get with Nuck them. Say, hey, look, dog, when y'all gonna do all of that, don't do it around these folks. They don't have anything to do with it. If we don't, because folks say, well, don't tell on them. Well, somebody got to do something.
Yes.
And so I say, if they're in your family, and I understand you're not talking to folks outside of your family, but if you have a nephew, get them one-on-one. Look here, man. Don't y'all do that. I understand that you with this and you with that, but can y'all keep it away from these innocent folks? Because they don't have anything to do with that. They just in there, man, trying to sleep sometime. And now this woman, every time she hear a car backfire, her heart races, man. She got a bad heart, is it? We have to bring back some doggone empathy. And if they say, well, it's a lot of shooting over there, I'm not going to jump and say, well, man, they always talk about the hood. Well, I live over there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, unfortunately, I don't know why they're shooting. I just know that they are. And I know that somebody knows them. They kin to somebody. And some people, and I've been when I was younger, I was fascinated by certain things. I was into certain things. But had I had a person I looked up to, if they had pulled me in the collar and said, look, you're going to stop that, you're not going to do it over there. And matter of fact, you won't be coming to the family cookout because I don't know what's going to come with you. There are a lot of times there are birthday parties with little children there, and because so-and-so is over there and his ops know that he's there, they don't make a distinction between these people and the kids and auntie and them. They'll air the whole place out.
Yeah.
They'll air it out, and go on,
I just wanted to make mention of 1993. There was an album called 12 Play. Bad album. Self-entitled album. R.
There are, you can play nonstop. You didn't have to skip nothing.
No, you don't. To be honest with you, I think a lot of people, a lot of people went through that. I ain't gonna play that up, but I love the music. I still listen to it. Still download it. That's a talented man. And
very talented.
And I'm not the person that says, well, I don't care what happened with those people. A lot of people take fault in that. I'm not the person that say that has nothing to do with me, because it doesn't. But this album has something to do with me as well. Yeah, I'm not gonna excuse the album because he messed up in his personal life. But
you're not gonna be cheated out of your good music. Because he fucked up.
And won't. He's held accountable. Right. I was not there. I don't know what all happened. If in case the things that he was accused of, he did do, he's wrong on every level. That's not tolerated. No different from what Pops was just saying about, we'll give excuses for everything. We don't want to hold each other accountable. He needs to be held accountable. Whatever he has coming to him for that, it needs to happen. The people around him that knew needs to be held accountable. The parents need to be held accountable. But if they go look at this album, Uh,
And you know, that album is probably why some of these parents allow their daughters to move in with him, because he is so talented. Now, I will say this, I do have a level of empathy for R. Kelly, because I think about that unhealed little boy, and I just really hate he did not get the help he needed when he had an opportunity to.
Absolutely, especially when you talk about resources, because once you hit a certain level of fame, you definitely have the resources to do so. But I think also what complicates things is the amount of fame you get, because then you get that money, you get that power, and you know, if you get a bunch of people around you, yes, you to death, right? And so then you don't think you have to do the work. So that I will definitely concede to, for sure. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because you have a lot of men or people out there in general who don't have the resources to get the help that they need, and so he didn't, unfortunately.
Well,
Nika B, excuse me 1 second. You hit on something when you said that when you gain that fame, because basically you're a tool to those folks. You are a means to them making more money. So they might know all along when this train is about at the end, and they're gonna just throw him away anyway. But they saw it then, but they knew that he was still lucrative. Right. So they kept certain things hidden. They kept feeding them whatever they were feeding them. You know, some artists, it's drugs that they feed them. But whatever it is, they use it as a measure of control. And when they get through using you, they'll discard you, throw you away, and then they'll be the main ones stepping on you and stomping on you. Then they'll buy your masters for cheap.
Right.
Right. Now, do you all think if these were not Black women, that R. Kelly, do you think he would have suffered consequences earlier on if these had been women who didn't look like myself and Nika B? Would it have been excused for so long? If he had married a white girl, and a 15-year-old, 16-year-old white girl in 1995, whatever that was, he and Aaliyah eloped, would he have gotten away with that? Would he have had that long career? Let me say this, K. Marie, and I'll just pose this to you all. Have you ever heard of a person, I think his name is Jeffrey Epstein? Yep. Epstein. How many of those people involved were probably white? The underage girls. Right. Yeah. Vast majority. How long did it go on? What has happened to those people? Sure. When I tell you power, when you get to certain levels, they don't make a distinction among your skin complexion. There are folks that are so high up, they do to what they want to do. Yeah. They will do it. And even on a documentary, it talks about how he went to some of the poor neighborhoods and picked up. So it's more, to me, classism on that than there's power, because who's gonna miss them? You know, if they get a hold of certain people, and there's some terrible things that we're not going to even get into it. But when I tell you, if we understood it, there are some things that we think are bad. That Dave Chappelle said it on one of his specials. He said, he alluded to something. He said, what if, women being raped, women being sexually assaulted in Hollywood, what if that was not the worst thing that's happening? And he kind of left it right there. He left it open that that's the tip of the iceberg. Right. What could he have been alluding to? Because he must know what he's talking about. There are a lot of people that see things that they'll never speak on. And these are powerful, rich people that are afraid to speak. So if they can make a strong man shut up, what can they do to an average person?
I say, open the door and let me in. Teach us all, preach your sins, turn the cheek, let it slide. Give 5 on the black hand side, the black hand side. Oh, black hand side, black hand side. Oh, the black hand side.